Well, something kind of big just happened, but also please don't get hyped about this. So, as you can see here, developer radio. I don't know what this is exactly, but it seems to be talking about things about the game, complaints that people have had, players have had. And yeah, like, this is it. Almost obviously, if you want to read it, well, look at the article and the description. But I've made a summary here on the left in case you don't want to read it, and I've also given my thoughts on it to an extent. The first, they've acknowledged issues with the story and exploration, and I said allegedly because it doesn't mean it will happen. Remember in Genshin Impact when they said that Genius Invocation TCG was going to be a casual game? Nope, that was a straight up lie. Turns out you need to play competitively, otherwise you're just not going to enjoy it. And that's why I stopped playing it essentially. It didn't yield any rewards, so there's no point. So yeah, trusting what Hoyoverse will do with these games is always going to be a gamble. Ironically, it's like a gacha within a gacha. So it's just pointless really to get hyped about any of this. Mission story, too much reading at large. Am I wrong? Fine? No. Yeah, I have. Acknowledged. I don't know how I managed that. But yeah. An option to skip content is added to experience the story more simply. As you can see here, you've got dialogue options to say no or yes. I will exhaust them because I do enjoy sort of the random quirks in between story content. And sometimes it's very good, very funny. Other times it's kind of like, like, next is the reducing tedious narrative experience, black screens and white text. Yeah, there it is. In the middle there. This is good because that was a massive complaint I saw on the subreddit at the moment before it came out. And yeah, there were a lot of them. I don't take too much issue with it, but it is lazy, especially when you could be hiring an artist to make artwork of the said scene that's in the black text. And it doesn't need to be animated, it just needs to be a still picture so you can get the idea. Like, if you wanted to make a novel, make a fucking novel. But as it stands, games like this are visual novels in a sense, for lack of a better term. Why is this just a novel? Um, the next is simpler puzzles. I don't understand this fully, but I am on board with it, given they've addressed the sort of pacing of it, I think. It's annoying to run around and complete a puzzle, so they should be doing that. They should be optimizing lengthy pathing for main story and reducing enemy placement as well. These two images here. And what's next? This takes effect from version 3.2, as it says at the bottom there. I don't think that's a good idea, to be honest. The reason I say that is because the fact that these issues are here now just shows that there's a lack of testing, and if it was from 3.1, then sure, that's acceptable. But the problem is you've got like hundreds of developers on this somehow, and you can't fix these issues now. It's a bit bizarre. Like, I guess maybe it's hard to implement in development. I don't know. I'm not really a game developer, but to me that just seems like it's drawing out the issue. And a lot of people who've complained about this and probably will for the next patch as well. We're not going to get that fixed right away, and as a result, we've wasted our time essentially. Even though it's not affected me too badly, I managed to do the story in about 10 hours. Well, that's quite a long story as well. That's one of the big problems. I wouldn't mind if they cut stuff from it. Still. Next is another big one, and it's basically saying that that. Especially saying that they're buffing older characters, which is bizarre, because as far as I know, no other game is doing this. And whilst it can be a good thing on the outside, and as I've said in my notes there, it's not necessarily going to make them better. And I say this because the only way you can buff these characters is if you make them somehow more broken than the characters we have in the meta now. So the Hertha, for example, who's the newest Emanator character, and yeah, if you compare her to Acheron, she's far more broken than Acheron, and that's with just a free-to-play friendly team. Where Acheron with a premium team isn't even reaching the heights that the Hertha is. So in a sense, it's to do with how badly baked the kit is. So if you buffed Acheron to say do get 3 Crimson Knots on a skill, and every debuff is like 1.5 or something crazy like that, then that's a major buff, and that'll make her compete with the Hertha basically. And that's a far more equal playing field for basically damage, DPS in general. The other problem is you've got characters who are not Emanator or of like numbers. Because I think there is an Emanator hierarchy in this game as well, which is bizarre. Because it didn't exist back in what point? Whatever. It does exist in Trauma 2.1, I think. But then, yeah, as I said in the example, if you look at all the characters that do the same thing basically, but differently, and often better, you can see there's a massive difference. Because they could have also locked like Sunday's skill behind Eidolons, which would be terrible. Like the additional skill point thing, for example. But like Sunday's absolutely busted for support. He buffs crit rate and crit damage, gives skill points and gives energy. There's like 4 things in one kit, which is nuts. And whilst that is a baseline, it's more to do with how they've balanced it. And then you look at Sparkle, for example, who does far less than Sunday does, except for skill point regeneration. She excels in that, but she isn't the best support. She only advances by 50%. And not all the time it works, actually, in my experience. I think it's bugged or something, I don't know exactly. She buffs crit damage, technically, but not by a lot. But it's for the whole team, though. And with her signature, which I have, she buffs crit rate. So she's got that as well, but even then Sunday's S1 is pretty damn good too. Ugh, like, voice crack. But it's just like, these characters just get power crit because their kits are not holding up. You know? And if you compare like Sparkle to Bronya, like fucking hell, Sparkle still wins, and that's because she does bigger numbers. And this is what I mean by buffing needs to be bigger. It needs to check these things here. Like, it needs to be suitable for the end game, suitable for DPS and utility checks. That's the problem with this, and that's why I don't really have much trust in essentially what the developers are trying to do here, which is buffing older characters. As much as I'd want to use like Imbobita Lune and even currently Fei Zhao, who will probably get power crept anyway. I do eventually want, I think, but not really. Then there's nothing you can do. You just need to save for the newest characters. And all this is because of HP inflation, and the fact they didn't acknowledge that, which is the main issue, on top of releasing so many characters and new sets and stuff. That shows they're not putting their priorities in the right place, and that's the thing that's gonna essentially stop these buffs from being useful. I hate to be a doomer about this, but this is, as far as I know, objectively true. I'm not even a theory crafter, but I even realise it's more to do with how they made the kits and the ways they can fix these characters. It's more to do with what they can add to it. Like if Sparkle was changed to like have more crit damage, that'd be great. That'd make her useful. And if Bronya somehow could also buff crit rate, then she'd be great too. There's different ways to buff them, but I don't think increasing the number will fix them completely. Yeah, that's all I have to say on this. It's a bizarre update, and not update, or just talking thing with the radio. But my social colitis is playing out, so I need to go. I'm interested to know people's thoughts on this and whether you're interested, I don't know. I'm just not very optimistic about this because, yeah, knowing the track record and also the HP inflation, it's not going to matter really. And the rerun's still pointless, to be honest, when all the characters are not performing up to like the current content. So there's always that as well. Yeah, thanks for watching and listening, whatever.